I'm with Nabeel Hamouz, who's a Palestinian journalist here in Bethlehem. Now, Nabeel, we're talking about statehood. What does statehood mean to you as a Palestinian?
Statehood is something that we need, actually. We are missing the security here as we're living in our own homes while we go to our work and everything. So statehood is something that we actually do miss, to be recognized in many countries. That's one thing, and to get the freedom and to feel safe.
Is it more about being a state, or is it more about being recognized by other people?
It's more about being recognized as Palestinians, because I've been out for in so many places and I'm still not recognized as a Palestinian in many countries.
Do you think you will get statehood recognition when they go for the vote in September?
Well, I personally don't think that this will happen, even though we have most of Europe are agreeing with us going to the United Nations, apart from 3 countries. England is one of them. But again, what we're asking for is quite a big thing, actually. Well, we do need it. It's somehow it's with, and in another way, it's actually against the Palestinians. But again, we do support the president Mahmoud Abbas in every action he takes, actually, because we believe it's for us, it's for the benefit of the Palestinians, actually, to live in a better state and to have a better life. But again, I don't think it's gonna be accepted by.
How do you think statehood will actually give you a better life?
I don't think, like, the thing is, what kind of a statehood are we talking about? That's a big question. And like, okay, we're asking for a statehood and we ask to be recognized by the United Nations. Does that mean we're gonna get all the freedom we are asking for as a country? So, for example, many countries have been taken by Britain, for example, many years ago. Now they became a country that is owned by the government and by the people who lives there, the nation themselves. When we speak about Palestine and Israel and Palestinian state, does that mean we're going to have our own airport, our own government that rules by themselves? That's the question.
So if you do get a Palestinian state on that day, what will change here on the ground? Well,
it's not just Mahmoud Abbas, when he is actually said that he wants to go to the United Nations and ask for the right to be recognized as a Palestinian state, number 194. Well, it's not just the idea of actually going and getting a state, because Mahmoud Abbas himself knows how impossible that is. But we actually asking for something more, to actually be recognized as a country, so we can be able to negotiate with Israel, to negotiate with America, with Europe and everybody. So when we take a step in order to live in peace, actually, or a step to actually get the freedom, to the human rights, actually, we are looking for human rights. So something like this, when we are recognized as a state, as a Palestinian state, and in many countries, and especially in the United Nations, well, that will give us actually a foundation. Actually, that will give us something to stand on and just actually shout loud that we are Palestinians, we have rights, and we want them. That's all.
There is a big issue actually about human rights, isn't it? Where Palestinians aren't really allowed to travel, and there's the issue between security for Israel. How would you get the balance for that? Israel need to have security, but at the same time, you need to have your human rights.
This is something actually you can never agree on 2 things in this situation, because you will have people who are actually pro-Israel and you will have people who are pro-Palestine. You can never go and say I'm pro both. This is a fact, and we're living in, and as a Palestinian I say this is what I'm living in. I'm living in this fact that I will never be able to be pro both, or actually look for peace with 2 nations in one country. Okay, we're talking about 2 states here, a Palestinian state and an Israeli state, which already existed according to the United Nations. But it's impossible. I don't think Israel are that dumb. They will never actually allow Palestinians to rule themselves without them being in control. That is the fact that we're living in. We know that to go from Bethlehem to Ramallah, which is just the next city to Bethlehem, Ramallah is the next city, and you have to go through a checkpoint. Now, if you're looking for a Palestinian state, that means Israel have to remove the checkpoints. We need to have freedom, and we need to have our own borders with other countries, for example, with Egypt. So is Israel willing for that? Or are they just want to stay in control? And what kind of state we're talking about? This is the things that everybody is actually assuming now, and kind of guessing what's going to happen. But until the 23rd, you don't know what's actually the real thing that Mahmoud Abbas is actually after. I know that he spoke before and he said so many things, and one of them is actually we want to have a foundation as Palestinians to actually go and ask for our rights. Human rights are actually there, and it's being put by the United Nations. Yeah. As a Palestinian, we do have human rights. We're not living in them. We do actually need freedom. We do need security for our kids. There's things actually are also required by the government that they need to supply and apply and get this stuff sorted for us, which quite impossible for them to do it right now without a Palestinian state.
Now, you say you want to be able to control your borders. How difficult is that going to be for someone like Mahmoud Abbas when you have people like Hamas, who are a terrorist organization? They want to bring weapons into the land. And let's say, for instance, you want to control the Egyptian border. Is he able to deal with the terrorist weapons that come into the land?
Well, terrorism is... this is the thing that sadly we're living in. Terrorism is not a Palestinian thing. So for those who are listening, it's not like I'm a Palestinian. I'm not a terrorist. Okay, we have Hamas is recognized as a terrorism group in all the world. Okay, there is many terrorism group in Britain, in America, in every single city there is terrorism. Terrorism is something that is inside someone's personality. Now the government, if they ask for a state, they need to be able to control their own nation. In which way? So you will have crimes in England. You go and you have police in the streets. They are there to control the crimes in the street. Yeah. Well, they cannot control every single crime, but they put policemen and policewomen there to actually try to increase it. So I'm not saying that we're assuming that Hamas is going to go and get guns and fight Israel. First of all, let's see, many Palestinians are already disagreeing with the Palestinian state, or actually Mahmoud Abbas going to the United Nations asking to become a Palestinian state. But again, Hamas themselves, it's just a group there, and I totally believe personally that our government gonna be able to control Hamas and make sure that this country can be safe under the Palestinian government.
Now, what will happen if you don't get a Palestinian state when it's voted for?
Well, this is the thing that everybody is kind of a bit worried about, because we know the pressure that the U.S. president is going through at the moment because of the election. Plus, we know what Israel are aware of. Plus, we know what the Palestinians are actually missing. So there's three things that actually we're pushing. We need the Palestinian state, actually. At the same time, I don't know what the U.S. president wants actually to do in this situation, whether he's going to be able to win the Palestinian government and lose the Israeli government because they're disagreeing with it. So there's so many questions there, and the action that is going to be after the meeting that's going to happen on the 23rd is going to be it's not going to be one reaction from all the Palestinians or all the Israelis. All we can say is we actually to remain calm actually in this situation, to actually think wisely and see what's going to happen afterwards. It is the question everybody's keep asking. So what's going to come up next? You know, we've lost our lands. We've been kicked out in the 1948, then the 1967, and now we're living in this 2011, and we can't. Okay, there's the right for the refugee Palestinians to go back to their land, but with this new thing that Mahmoud Abbas came up with, refugees are going to lose their homes. This is the thing that the reaction could be bad if we're not going to get recognized as a Palestinian state. At the same time, it might be bad if we do get recognized. So you have people who agree and people who disagree, and at the same time, I don't know what's going to happen.
Now, if you do get a Palestinian state, will this be the end to trouble? Or is there a long process of negotiation ahead?
No, this is the beginning, actually. This is the beginning of actually being recognized. This is why I so totally agree with what Mahmoud Abbas is up for, actually. I so agree with it because this is the beginning for us as Palestinians to rise, to follow. What we say here is technology is there, you need to follow it. And this is what happens here in politics. Politics is rising up, so we need to be part of it. You know, if we stay just like a piece of land that there is a nation living on it who are actually missing their rights, and that we don't have this weapon to actually go and fight with. When I say weapon, I don't mean weapon as fighting. This is why something I really hate, to be honest, that when you say Palestinian, you say terrorism. We do fight Israel, okay? The Israeli government, let's be clear. And we fight it with many things. First of all, is actually, you might say some people fight with their weapons. Well, we don't fight with our weapons. I'm fighting for my right to live as a person, as a Palestinian human, yeah? I fight for it by actually learning in school, becoming more successful Palestinian man who is actually fighting for his right to be able to live, and I want to live peacefully, no matter who's around me. Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm gonna go and kick out the Israelis and kick out the Americans, the British, everybody who's in this country to live in my country just with the Palestinians. No, I say that I want to live in peace. At the same time, I need my right that I've lost. So this is something that I think every single person who's listening right now would be actually asking for and looking for. For example, if you are living and you know yourself, you have this, I don't know, this mobile phone, yeah, that belongs to you, and somebody stole it. You have a right to actually ask for it, yeah, and fight for it. You could do so many ways. You could go and sue this person who stole your phone. You can go and speak to him nicely. You can go and kill him. You can do so many things to actually get your phone back. And every single Palestinian have his way to actually look for his right. And I don't think it's a crime when a Palestinian is asking for a right to live peacefully and to get his right as a human and all the needs that he's missing because of a situation that we're living in and we didn't ask for it. So, yeah.
Now, you were actually a refugee. Where are you from? A refugee from 1948 or 1967?
1948.
And what happened to your family in 1948?
Well, basically, everybody knows the British took over, and then they handed the land to Israel, which is a fact. And some people might disagree, but it's actually a fact. It's a history, and everybody knows it. And my family used to live in a place called Beit Jibrin. And when Israel moved in, they kicked out so many, like not just the Beit Jibrin, other countries. And some studies have said it's since Israel moved in until 1998, there's 3.4 million refugees. So there's 3.4 million refugees who are living, whether it's in Palestine or outside Palestine.
And what sort of countries are the Palestinian refugees living in?
Okay, well, the refugees, as I said, 3.4 million, and we've got actually about 40% who are living in Jordan, and there's about 10% in Lebanon, and there's 12% in Syria, and there's 38% in Palestine, whether in the West Bank or Gaza, and the rest in Europe, America, Canada, and Australia, and other countries like around the world.
So these Palestinian refugees, are they wanting to come back into the 1967 armistice line, or are they wanting to go back to 48?
It's not what land you want to go back to. It's you had the land, you've lost it, you want it back. So I'm not going to go and say I lost this thing and I want to replace if I want it back, and then give me something else that looks just the same, or because in the end you lost your land. It doesn't matter whether it's 48 or 67. You had the land, you lost it, you want it back. And this is something that everybody would live in, and that's the sad story, that everybody look at it from maybe a religious side. The case of the Palestinians and Israel, look at it from the religious side, politics, what they see right now. You know, I know that you hear on the TV and the radio, like the whole media or the website, you hear that, okay, there's a Palestinian guy gonna and kill an Israeli guy. Yeah, but you know the Palestinians have lived for all their lives in these troubles. They've been attacked, they've been killed, they've been, we're refugees now. Yeah, there's 59 refugee camps in Jordan and the West Bank and Gaza and Syria and Lebanon. 59 refugee camps. That is, okay, that sounds like nothing. Maybe you say, oh, well, there's only like about 60 refugee camps. Yeah, but this 60 refugee camps, like the smallest refugee camps, one of the smallest one is Gaza camp, which is just in Bethlehem. It's nearby, and this camp has 2,300 people living in, which is very, very small refugee camp. But there's 2,300 people who are living in, and they're living on top of each other. They build the houses so small, so tiny, and you just kind of have this hood, this hood like in Palestine that is full of people who've been kicked out of their land. So the UNRWA actually took over, so they basically, what they do is give them this piece of land. They actually rent it from the government, or the government buy it and they rent it from the government, and then they build their homes, which is just like a room and a bathroom and a kitchen that should be enough for 5 or 6 people, like in this family. And it happened for like, okay, maybe many years ago that was maybe enough for like the refugee camp was enough. Now we are rising up, I mean, like we're growing up. And there's now, like, as I said, there's 3.4 million refugees in all over the world. And what actually Mahmoud Abbas is asking for right now is quite dangerous. Because if you're looking for a Palestinian state in the 1967, well, what's going to happen with the rest of the Palestinians from 1948? Are you going to give them something else? Are you going to give them money or a piece of land? Or how are you going to get them satisfied with what we're living in?
Now, it does seem to be a huge mess, the whole situation, the whole problem. And to have so many Palestinian refugees, if you bring these Palestinian refugees, give them their rights of 1948, is that not suicide for Israel?
Well, that's the thing. That's why I said Palestinian situation and the whole state situation is quite like impossible. If we're gonna say it, it's really impossible just to think about it, because as you said, it is a suicide for Israel. But again, what are you gonna do with the Palestinians? That's the thing. Are you just gonna go and buy them another piece of land in another place, like, or what are you gonna do with them? Or that is the question that everybody's asking for. Like, you know, as I said, the main thing what we're looking for is actually peace and justice. Yeah, the reason why Mahmoud Abbas is going to the United Nations actually to ask for a state is actually, or a two-state solution, is actually because for peace and justice. So we're asking for that. And again, like Mahmoud Abbas, when he came up, okay, the 1967 solution, he knows if he gonna ask for 1948 as well, Israel gonna say no. And nobody can agree with it because they don't want to just kind of be in this suicidal position. I so see it. At the same time, we know it's a right for Palestinians to get back their lands. But again, what kind of situation we're living in? I know, like in schools now, that we see that this brainwash thing. We have the new generation where it actually rises up and say, I don't want my land. Okay, that was my father's land. I don't want it. I just want to go and live in peace. Which is not because the Palestinians actually just give up. The new generation are saying that not because they just give up. It's because they know that there is no way. That's why Mahmoud Abbas came up with the solution. We know if we ask for 1948, Israel is going to say no. So it is a suicide for Israel. And Israel is going to say no for sure. But what are you going to do? What's the solution? That's why it's been there for so many years. 63 years we're living under this occupation. And it's going to be more than that. It's going to go double. And I know I'll die and my grandkid will live in the same situation I'm living in right now. And I'm not saying this to kind of not give hope and hope to the people who are listening and the Palestinians and the Israelis, but I'm just saying this because it's a fact. You know, you're living in this position where someone have to give up. Palestinians should give up in order to Israel to live. Israel have to give up in order for Palestinians to get back their lands and live in justice and peace. And there is, sadly I could say it, I do support our president when everything that he's going to do, and then going to the United Nations on the 23rd. But again, sadly I would say there is no answer for our situation.
Now, as a Palestinian refugee, is this more personal to you because you're a refugee than the average Palestinian on the street?
It's totally different. It is totally different, man. Because I know myself, if we do get this Palestinian state solution, or the two-state solution actually sorted, or let's say Obama says, yes, let's go for it, even though I doubt that. If he go and says that, I know you've got so many refugees are going to be so angry. So many refugees. I'm like, okay, we've been kicked out. Now we're living in a refugee camp, and that means how long can we wait for? And this state solution, it's not going to be helpful for me. It is helpful for the Palestinians who are not refugees, because they're living in their own place where they've been for many years. The only thing is going to change, they might have more freedom. We might the image of the Palestinians now. I spoke to kids, in my refugee camp. We've been speaking to kids and talking to them and playing with them and making, get them to have fun, because this is one thing we do actually, to actually just take the thoughts away from what they're living in at the moment. And some of them are just actually, they've seen yesterday on the TV this picture of this kid who was in this bus, and she had a dream that she grown up to be a young lady, and was walking by the airport, and it says Palestinian airport, and this is her dream. I know it's a movie thing or a sketch thing actually to show the Palestinians that we could have a Palestinian state, but this is the dream of this kid. That one of the kids who was with me, he said, does that mean we're going to have a Palestinian state and we're going to have an airport and I can go and fly with an airplane? Palestinian kids are living in this position right now where they're missing so many things. They don't have the freedom or the right as kids to live as kids, as any other kids in America, in Europe, or anywhere. They do go through this period of time where I think they shouldn't go through. And I totally believe that, because if you speak at kids, you know what kids are like, and what the kids right, actually, the children right, they shouldn't live in this position. So they need other sources. If a kid is 6 years old and going through a checkpoint, seeing a soldier with a gun, actually having another guy standing by the wall, this is something he shouldn't see. He shouldn't hear a gunshot at night. He shouldn't see people getting killed on the streets. He shouldn't be killed himself anyway. So there is things that we're missing, and it's just tiny things. It could be tiny things that we are asking for. I look at it as a tiny things, but it is a big thing. It is going to be, we're asking for small things actually to see a brighter future. And that's the main thought and the main thing that Palestinians are looking for. I know our listeners, you might think what we're talking about here, Palestinian terrorism. No, there is Palestinians. I'm one of them. We want to live in peace. I want to see my children growing in a good environment. I want to see my brother in a very good university that he can study and be a successful man. I want to see my grandmother, I want to see my grandmother living in this community where actually she had the right to live right. Because, elderlies, kids, youth, all these slices of the community, they're missing their rights. And when we ask for a Palestinian state, that means there is a request from the government to start actually act like we are a state. So there is going to be the wages that need to be sorted, so that minimum wage, there's the work that need to be provided. There's so many things that is normal. We just ask for things that in the community need to be sorted away from politics. That's why, it's going to be sorted through politics, away from violence, so we don't shout. There is new groups on Facebook. You can go and join Facebook. Look at these groups against violence but with rights. So we are against violence, but we ask for our rights. I don't think anyone who's going to go and stand in the street ask for his right back is actually terrorism. So there is Palestinians who are not terrorism. We're just asking for our rights. And what Mahmoud Abbas is doing is just one of the ways actually to actually look for our rights and hoping to get it back.
So what's your prayer finally for Israel and for the Palestinian people?
My prayer is actually to wake up and realize that we are human, and just to put aside money, religious, and everything that you believing in is actually to put it aside. All the hatred you have for somebody, just to put it aside. Everything just to put it aside and just sit with yourself and just remember one thing, that this person who's standing in front of you is a human. And as much as you want to live and have a good life, he wants to live and have a good life. And I know it is impossible, but you can, or it sounds impossible, but it's not. Nothing is impossible, is it? And it sounds really like that, but again, you can live in peace with anyone you want. If a man can actually manage to get a lion to be a good friend of him, it sounds impossible to have a lion that's not. You're gonna sleep next to a lion. He's gonna kill you. If you sleep next to a lion, he's gonna kill you. But you can manage actually to feed that lion since he's a kid and actually train him to become. So you can train your heart as well, your mind, to actually realize that the person who's standing in front of you, there's a wall between us now. There's the new wall that is there. You should think like, I'm a human, yeah, but the person behind that wall is a human as well. And enough. It's time to actually change. So it is enough of violence, enough of hatred. It's time to actually realize that there is a request that is peace. Everybody's requesting peace. Everybody is requesting justice. Yeah, we do request justice here because it's missing towards both Palestinians and Israelis. So yeah, that's my prayer.
Okay, Nabeel, thank you very much.